Good morning, everybody. DJ Styles here at Custom Corpses. Okay, we are in the process of making a urethane rubber master copy of this mold. Now, I warn you, this process, once you do this, you will never have, this mold will be no good. That's why I always make my latex copy of this. I'll have a smaller version, but I'll lose this master if I don't get the urethane put in here properly. So this is a very, very delicate and important process. Yeah, it's not that delicate, but anyway, okay. This half of the mold over here, I already did. I finished it. You can see the color differential. It's a little greenish color, and it's got a paste wax. It's called molding wax, and it's sold by Brick in the Yard. Right there, can you see that? Molding wax. It comes in 2-ounce jars. I always buy like 2 jars at a time. I got an extra one here. This molding wax, you want to use a brush. I'm using a fine bristle brush to really get into the detail. So with that being said, I still have to do this half. Now when I do this, I also do the barrier wall. I don't want any of that urethane rubber sticking to the barrier of this, the barrier in the wall. The lock. All right, so I still got quite a bit in here, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to keep you guys in frame. And now see, this seals this so it will not absorb water anymore. So that means your latex will not seal, will not cure. You can't put latex in it anymore. That's basically it in a nutshell. Once you seal this, that's it. And as you can see, now I'm brushing it in really good. I don't want it to, and I don't want pockets of this wax sitting on the surface. I want to make sure that I have it really brushed in and embedded into the mortar, because otherwise you end up with a mess. Okay, so I put quite a bit on the brush that time, but I'm going to rub that in really good and make sure it's in there. And then after I put this on and I get this completely done, I am going to let this sit for a good 2-3 hours to let it dry good. I just don't like to take a chance. I want to make sure that my mold is completely ready for the urethane rubber. Now this is where the detail comes in here. Now I got to make sure when I put this stuff on here that I don't have too much caked on, and I'm just kind of working it into the, I don't want too much caked onto my brush. All right, so we're gonna just kind of rub it in there real good. Make sure you get into all the little areas, because otherwise that urethane will stick to this mortar, and you don't want that. If that sticks to the mortar, you're not going to pull it off. It's not going to come off. I'll also use an additional, it's called Police 2650. I'll be using this as a sealer and a release agent as well on my stone once I have it where I want it. You know, I got to make sure everything's dry and ready with the paste wax. See what I'm doing is I'm making sure none of this is caked up inside of my effects here. I don't want anything caked in on any of the detail, because otherwise you're going to end up having your detail lost. because you have too much paste wax. Clinging up against the edges and stuff like that, so. Let me see. Watch, I don't. Now I'm just doing a circular motion so I can, and if I see any real, you can see it, it gets real green. If I see too much there, I just kind of move it away, move it around. I'll get inside the ears on the surface here. I gotta make sure that that's really good. I don't want anything caked. No streaks, no brush marks. I'm just about out of this. I'm gonna have to break into the other jar. Definitely don't want to lose any of this detail. And I like using a soft brush with this. You can use a stiffer brush, but I think the softer brush is makes it go into the mortar a little better. So. Now this process is like, you make a mistake here with the urethane and you're in trouble. And we're gonna, one step at a time though, guys, one step at a time. But what's nice about the urethane master copy is, one, it doesn't shrink, so you never lose the original size of your sculpture. And that's really key, because you don't want to lose the original size of your sculpture. Because if I never need to make another master of a really large mask, I have it. This, my master copy from this mold will be just the same size as my sculpture itself. So, and that's a good thing. Yeah, that'll be the exact same size as the actual sculpture, because the urethane will not shrink. Where latex, you lose about 2 inches on every time you make another master. So. Getting it in the ear area really good. Get that out of there. Gonna make sure that this is released really good. Now once this, I know that I have enough in this area, then I'm gonna brush it until I see no more green stuck up against my detail. I don't want cakes of green paste wax. That's basically what this is. It's like an oily wax, and it seals this mortar so it doesn't absorb water. Just puts a little barrier across it so you can't absorb water in it anymore, and latex has water in it. So, and that's the trick. Latex actually the water gets absorbed into the mold, all right? And that's how you get your, I still gotta do the outside wall here, but I gotta break into my other jar, because this jar is done. I used every bit of it. I don't waste things. That's one thing I don't do, especially when you start buying this stuff, because this stuff gets expensive. All right, so we're gonna, see, it's just a paste wax. Just pile it onto your brush, and I kind of use these caked on areas. I cake it on in spots and then kind of move it around a little bit. And I just saw, if you that was a piece of latex that was on there. Gotta get that off of there. Doesn't matter, it's not gonna stick now anyway, so. Make sure your edges don't have any caked on paste wax, because if it does, you're gonna have problems. Now what's nice is I'll have enough to do another mold from this jar. I have plenty here to be able to do another mold, and hopefully I have enough of the rubber to do another mold, because I'm already sculpting into the H40. I'm starting that. I'm getting there already. I've got to do that other ear. I'm going to do that other ear today. So I'm going to get the other ear, and then I'm going to start my process of getting the just don't want to miss anything. You definitely don't want to miss, because if you miss, you're gonna have problems with your releasing. You don't want that. You don't want that rubber, that silicone rubber, not silicone, sorry, urethane rubber, sticking to your mold. That sticks to your mold, forget it. You ain't getting it off. You will not get it off. And that's why it's important to really have that barrier on here really good. Yeah, I can see where some of the areas are still not slippery. Get that off there. What a wonderful thing. I love doing this. I really do love this mold making and the sculpting. I like it all. You know, I think what happens is you get hot and you're out there. Today's a beautiful day outside, so you can feel fall in the air out there today. You know, that storm blew through here. We're lucky. Not like a lot of people in Jersey. We had a tornado really rip through a neighborhood just a little bit north of us here. Destroyed a lot of houses. And that's terrible. We don't want that to happen. Yeah, I'm just trying to get inside these. This letter E. Get in between the letters and get that stuff out of there, because otherwise you're going to have problems. It's a beautiful thing. You can feel it. It's still a little rough when you don't have enough wax on there, you know. But it's slimy now. It's almost like Vaseline. Not quite that. It's a little pastier than that, but that's what you're looking for. That smooth feeling when you're going across your stone. If you hear it raking or feel that grab, then you don't have enough paste wax on there. So far I'm hitting the spots pretty good. It's good. I've got it covered. Grabbing here a little bit, right in here. That could also be drying too, so that might be the reason. Because once the stuff dries, it does dry nice. It's a really nice, ooh, I gotta get this off of here. Got a piece of latex still stuck to this thing. Thick piece too, man. Wow. There, finally, That was thick. That was thick. Okay. Make sure there's nothing else on there. Well, the latex will keep it from sticking too, so that's actually a cool thing. All right, now I'm going to do this area, and I'm going to touch that spot where I just... See all these little crevices in here. You definitely make sure that you want that released, because that's where it will grab. It will grab on to this. And I just let this sit dry, let it dry for a couple hours, and move on to the next phase, and that'll be filling it. The first coat of urethane will be thin. There won't be any thickening agent put in it. I won't use any polyfiber. I have tons of polyfiber, and you have to use the polyfiber to thicken the rubber so it sticks to the walls real good. So I'll use very little. Actually, I won't use any polyfiber the first coat, but I'll have to work it, because there's a working time of like maybe a half hour or so. I'm not even sure. It's been a while. So, but I'll sit here and I'm going to do both halves. I'm going to do each half and work the detail and make sure that this is covered really good. The urethane's all in here, and then once it starts to firm up a little bit, then, you know, I'll also put a barrier of rubber in here, right? Once that firms up, then I'll take the two pieces, put it together, strap it really tight, and then the next, I'll have this flipped up like I'm gonna put latex in it, upright, put the urethane with the fiber, polyfiber in it, and then kind of work it around on the inside just to thicken the walls really good. You want that rubber really thick on the walls, because then you'll have a really good, long-lasting, solid rubber master copy of your mold that will last longer than I'll be alive, that's for sure. I'm 60 years old, so I get 20 years out of a master copy. I'm gold. That'll be great for me. Get my master copy done, and then I can, because the molds don't hold up. You know, you get about 20 pulls from a mold, and then what happens is all the moisture kind of weakens this mold over time. The more pulls, 20 to 30 pulls is all you're going to get, and then you're going to start losing small detail, especially in here. I'll lose detail in this, and I don't want to do that. So I just have to recast or remold from my master urethane. Oh yeah, this thing is ready. It's buttered up, released. I gotta let this dry now for a good, I think I'll let it dry for like 2 hours. You know, so this paste wax is on here. That'll seal it really good. You won't have to worry about anything. It won't absorb nothing at that point. Once it's, you know, I just want to put some more in here. See how it's light right in there? It looks a little light. Just want to make sure it's not going to absorb in my... That's all I need. That would be a nightmare. would be a nightmare. This process is pretty easy. It really is. It's not that difficult. Can be scary on your first time. Trust me, it is. And everything's scary on your first time because you've got months and months of work wrapped up in your sculpture. And if you make a mistake, a big enough mistake, you lose all that work. And that's why it's important to learn the proper ways of doing the processes, all processes. You want to make sure that you really follow the process, and especially if people are showing you, take advantage of it. You know, years ago, before YouTube, you know, you didn't learn this. This stuff was like secret. It was secret. Not a lot of people could make masks. Not very many at all. You know, you had to go to school for it and stuff. You know, that was the thing. You didn't just look it up on YouTube. You had to go to school for this kind of stuff. You had to go to an art school for this. And, you know, you didn't even know what the products they used, or you didn't know any of it. You didn't know, like, it's funny, a lot of people make the mistake of using regular household craft plaster, and it is too soft for making molds. It just will not work. If you're making a little tiny mold, something, you know, small, then you can get away with it, but not for this kind of thing. No way. And chances are you're only going to get one pull from something like that and then you'll have it damaged. Because this type of Ultra Cal 30 is so strong. It's a really it's a hard stone. It's not real soft at all. So I'm done. I am done. I just want to make sure there's no brush marks that are real visible. Make sure there's nothing in my detail here. Perfect. That's it, guys. What do you think? It says Custom Corpses NightCreeper, 1978. Now this brush, I'm going to have to go do this in soapy water. This jar is no good. They're glass jars. Well, maybe I can salvage that, get that stuff out of there and use it. Now, I'll let this dry, both halves, for about 2 hours, and I'll come back and brush on a release agent on this and let that set for a little bit. All right. And then I start mixing my urethane rubber. It's a 2-part mix. I don't remember the ratio. I gotta look at it. But once I know the ratio, then I'll do the 2-part mix. This time I won't make the mistake of not having the record button on like I did with the foam. Oh my God, I can't believe that. Now I gotta reshoot that, and it's not fun. That was not done on purpose. I know what happened. As soon as I went to put the phone on the tripod, I must have hit the button off by accident, and sure as hell it shut the phone down, and we lost the most important part of the video, was actually putting the foam in the mask and watching it foam up, you know, and putting that rod in there. So let me go wipe this out. I'm gonna say good afternoon, and you'll see me back here in a couple hours, and I'll start the urethane master. So see you in a few minutes, guys. Hang tight.